Welcome, welcome, one and all. For anyone joining us for the first time, or if you've been away, the Spokane Sangha meets and has these hybrid meetings Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday we meet online only. And it is such a joy to be here for the month of March and for the whole month of April. We are exploring the theme of forgiveness. And one of the things that I was looking at on the Sravasti Abbey website, which is a Tibetan Buddhist monastery about an hour outside of Spokane. And they have because it's a monastery and it's in the Tibetan tradition, they have a monthly, typically a monthly practice where they get together around the new moon and they all very quietly and privately, but in community, come together and meditate on regrets and forgiveness. I call it the Passaddhi practice. Passaddhi means forgiveness to tranquility. And what they're doing is they're allowing some interaction that needs some attention, some interaction that was unskillful, maybe on the part of someone else, maybe on their part, but nevertheless, it's like a splinter in the mind. And so they allow it to be present in the mind. And then they work on refraining from reliving that scenario too much. I should have said this. I wish they would have said that. Why did they do it that way? And then reactivating themselves, reliving the scenario and entertaining the shoulda, woulda, couldas. They refrain from doing that and instead try to engage an inner voice that cultivates the four limitless qualities of loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Wow, that was an unfortunate thing that happened. That person was unskillful. I've been unskillful. I wonder what was motivating them. I wonder what was going on for them. I may never know. And just like me, I need tenderness and care. I wonder if I can sit with that and offer that to them. Or if I was unskillful, yikes. Speaking harshly toward myself is not going to help. So how can I refrain from allowing that inner authoritarian voice, that harsh, biting, negative narrator to be in the driver's seat? And then they do something that's called to remediate. And what I noticed on recently in their most recent forgiveness practice was they went out to a very specific fire pit that they created. I think it's called a puja. And they all had written down their regrets, their unskillfulness, whatever it was that they were working on. And they put it in the fire. And it was a way to enact some kind of release, some kind of space, so that they don't have to be so shackled to it. They may not be able to let it go entirely, but to make some effort to release it a little, allow it to gain a new perspective. And then they have a resolution process where very personally and deeply and privately in their own minds, in the quiet of their own practice, they really resolve to learn from this situation, grow from this situation, do things differently to the best of their ability. And then, of course, we have to make space for the fact that this is going to repeat. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to encounter unskillfulness, ignorance, confusion, delusion. How do we want to interact with it? That's been so much of the theme of what I've been bringing forward for the last several weeks. And I'd like to bring it forward again today. And today, I'd like you to think about doing something that is an enactment that allows you to release some of the tension you might be harboring. It could be anything. You are limited only by your imagination. You could drink a beautiful cup of tea. You could write something down on a piece of paper like they did and burn it in a candle. You could plant a perennial in your garden. You could trim an apple tree in your yard, making space for your unskillful interaction to have room to breathe and grow and bring forward beautiful fruit. Whatever you want to do, so long as it is with the intention to grow and mature and learn. Today, the focus of our practice is when others need our forgiveness. And I'd like to tell you a little story. And it has to do with the innocence of ignorance. In the Buddhist tradition, the first noble truth, there is suffering, there is discomfort, is followed by the second noble truth, which is there are conditions, there are reasons for our misery, and they are related to ignorance. We simply don't know what we don't know. Confusion, craving, attachment. And the third noble truth is when we understand these conditions and when we can understand and even identify, oh, I'm suffering right now, I'm hurting, I'm grieving, I have confusion. What is this all about? Can I get clearer on the conditions of my confusion? Suddenly, the suffering and the discomfort begins to ease. And how we can transform it entirely is by becoming and practicing the way of the Noble Eightfold Path. Engaging our wise understanding, having wise intentions, employing wise actions, using wise speech, even to ourselves, taking stock of all of our efforts, including our lazy ones, our negative ones, our embarrassing ones, letting them be part of our joyful effort, our wonderful effort, bringing it all together in the space of wisdom, allowing this to change our lives, being mindful as we go and concentrated. When my youngest daughter was maybe 18 months old to somewhere around that age, a toddler, I was emptying out my dishwasher. And my dishwasher at that time had the utensil basket attached to the bottom rolling drawer, rolling, whatever you call it, that rolling tray where plates go and so forth. And so I was putting things away, and my toddler thought it would be great good fun to grab sharp serrated knives that were in the basket, in the utensil basket, and run around like Edward Scissorhands, waving these serrated knives over her head. She just thought that was so great. And we were running after her, which then, of course, made it a game and even more fun. And she was squealing and thought this was so good. And we were waiting for her to trip and fall and skewer herself. We were scared she was going to stab one of the other kids or the dogs. You can imagine. So we grabbed her, we got her, we took the knives away from her. And then, of course, she was devastated. And she threw herself on the ground in full tantrum style, shrieking. You would have thought by her shrieks that I had been stabbing her with the knives that I had just removed from her hands. This is innocent ignorance. And we carry it for a lot longer than we realize, I think. I wonder. I wonder about the innocence of my own ignorance. There are lots of things I don't even know that I don't know. But something in my inner landscape, some aspect of my inner critic, it's really an aspect of my immature ego that has me utterly convinced that I should know everything. I should know all that I don't know. And why would I know things when about other countries, for example, and customs there? And their language. But something in my inner ego is like, yeah, Julia, you should know that. And you should know that. And you should know that. So harsh. And because I have that inner critic for myself, when I see ignorance in others, sometimes I project my own attitude toward myself. And I put it on over other people. They should know better. They should know differently. And what this does is I have just superimposed a layer of harshness over someone, a harshness that I have within myself. And I inhibit from myself from seeing this person truly as they are, where they are. And then for funsies, while I'm painting them with all kinds of my own personal harshness and shoulds, then I start having all kinds of negative thoughts and stories to justify my perceptions. And it is such a miserable time. And I, for some reason, relish it because I do it regularly with people. And it's fascinating how often I do it toward the people I seem to love the most. This is a very, very layered, complex idea that we are taking on, friends. When someone's actions are unskillful, all I'm inviting us to do in this practice is to just pause a moment and make space to wonder. I feel like this person should know better and should act differently, but they're not. And I'm pissed off about it. Maybe they are afflicted with innocent ignorance. Maybe they're like my 2-year-old running around with serrated knives because they don't know better. They don't know differently. Just maybe. Is there space for that possibility? That's all I'm asking us to consider. There may not be. But if we look deeply, and it is true that somebody should know better, what else is true? Because even if they should know better and they're acting unskillfully, something else is there. Some kind of ignorance is there. Some kind of confusion is there. Some kind of misery is there. And maybe it's as innocent as their little 2-year-old self. Can we see it? Can we be present to it? And if we can't be, can we give ourselves permission for that with loving kindness so that we can heal what is ever going on inside of us that doesn't allow us to be present for the moment? Who would have thought that forgiving someone else would be so complicated, right? But it is. And I think this is why it speaks to the lip service we often give forgiveness. I'm just going to forgive them. Love the sinner, hate the sin. I think that's a popular adage that is too easy and a little flavorless when we try to engage it, because it's so much more complicated than that. How do you forgive someone else? How do you stand before someone's ignorance, manifested as unskillful actions or words? How do you take care of your own feelings so that you don't project them and make things worse? How do you forgive yourself in the process? There's no right answer here, friends. There is simply practice. So in the silence of the next few moments, let's just allow these seeds to be planted in the mind and see what comes alive for you. Friends, I'd like to end our meditation with a few words from Pema Chodron from her book, Comfortable with Uncertainty. And this is the very first teaching that she entitled The Love That Will Not Die. She says, on the journey of the warrior bodhisattva, the path goes down, not up, as if the mountain pointed toward the earth instead of the sky. Instead of transcending the suffering of all creatures, we move toward turbulence and doubt however we can. We explore the reality and unpredictability of insecurity and pain, and we try not to push it away. If it takes years, if it takes lifetimes, we let it be as it is. At our own pace, without speed or aggression, we move down and down and down. With us move millions of others, our companions in awakening from fear. At the bottom we discover water, the healing water of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is our heart, our wounded, softened heart. Right down there in the thick of things, we discover the love that will not die. This love is bodhicitta. It is gentle and warm. It is clear and sharp. It is open and spacious. The awakened heart of bodhicitta is the basic goodness in us all. So let's end our practice today dedicating the beauty and the wonder of coming into a collective soul of practitioners. Let's dedicate this practice far and wide. Reach those who have no idea this practice even exists. There are people today you may likely encounter who are grieving the loss of a beloved, and they have no one to tell. You're going to encounter someone today with very serious mental health struggles, substance misuse, and they have no idea how to own it, how to hold it, how to seek help and support for it. But maybe, just maybe, by encountering your presence, illuminated, softened by this practice today, maybe something will come alive for them, something will shift. That's the mystery and the magic of being alive and being present to the practice as it's alive in each of us. Share it, bring it, the world needs it, coming from you exactly as you are. We'll end our practice with the 4 vows of the warrior bodhisattva. All beings know pain and confusion. I vow to bring ease and clarity. The ways of delusion, rejection, and diminishment are endless. I vow to be spacious for healing and transformation. The paths of truth are infinite. I vow to joyfully devote myself to their realities. Awakening to the wholeness of life is a sacred purpose, and I vow to embody it. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And you do. You are an inspiring lot, and it's my privilege and honor to practice with you. I hope I see you again, maybe even as soon as tomorrow. Have a wonderful afternoon, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.